Hey everyone, and welcome back to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. I'm so glad you're here today. You know, this is your go-to place for helping you really boost your English listening and speaking skills. And today, we're going to dive into something I think a lot of us can really relate to, especially when we're trying to learn something new or, just get things done. We're talking about why you can't focus. Have you ever tried to listen to an English podcast? Maybe even this one. Or, tried to read an article in English, and then suddenly your mind just, drifts off. You know, you're thinking about dinner, or what you need to do tomorrow, or just about anything else but the English you're trying to learn. It happens to all of us, right? Learning a language, you know, it really takes a lot of concentration. And if you're constantly battling distractions, it can feel like you're not making any progress at all. And that's just, well, it's frustrating, isn't it? It can even make you feel like you don't want to keep going. So today, we're going to explore why our brains sometimes just decide to wander off, even when we really want to pay attention. And hopefully, by understanding this better, you'll find it easier to, really lock in when you're practicing your English. Because let's be honest, the better you can focus, the faster you'll improve your English. Let's get started. You know, it's funny, when we talk about not being able to focus, I immediately think of this one time. Just a few months ago, actually, I had this really important project I was working on. It was actually writing a big, detailed script for an upcoming series of podcasts, much like this one, you know? And it required, deep concentration, a lot of research, and just, a lot of thinking. So I set aside an entire morning for it. I woke up early, made myself a big cup of coffee, and I was feeling really motivated. I thought, okay, this is it. No distractions today. I'm going to get so much done. I sat down at my desk, laptop open, all my reference materials spread out, and, I started typing. It felt good, you know? I was in the zone for maybe 10 minutes. Then, my phone, which I thought I had silenced, just buzzed. It was just a little buzz, not even a loud ring, but it was enough. And my brain immediately went, oh, what was that? You know that feeling, right? It's not even a conscious decision sometimes. My hand just reached for it, and it was just a notification from some news app telling me about something that happened halfway across the world. And I thought, okay, I'll just glance at it for 1 second. Just 1 second. 1 second turned into 5 minutes, then 10. I found myself scrolling through a few articles, then checking some social media just because it was there. I wasn't even really interested, to be honest, but it was like a little escape, I guess. After about 15 minutes, I shook my head, no, what are you doing? Get back to work. And I put the phone down. I tried to pick up where I left off, but, the momentum was gone. My brain felt, a little bit scattered already. I reread the last paragraph I wrote, and it just didn't make sense anymore. I sighed, took a deep breath, and tried to push through. But then, my stomach started to rumble. Oh, I thought. I didn't have breakfast yet. Maybe a quick snack will help me focus. Light laugh. So, I went to the kitchen. And while I was in the kitchen, I noticed the sink was full of dishes from the night before. And, you know how it is. My brain just said, oh, I should just clean these quickly. It won't take long. Then I'll have a clean space, and that will help me focus better, right? So I started washing dishes. 10 minutes turned into 20 because, I found myself humming along to a song on the radio, looking out the window. Just not thinking about the script at all. Finally, I got back to my desk, feeling a little bit annoyed with myself. I looked at the clock, and it was almost an hour and a half later than when I first started, and I had, barely written anything meaningful. I sat down again, determined. Okay, this time, I'm serious. No more distractions. But it's not just external things, is it? Sometimes the distractions are, inside your own head. I tried to read my notes, and suddenly, a random thought popped into my mind. It was about something I needed to do next week, completely unrelated to the script. Like, oh, I need to remember to buy milk. Or, did I reply to that email yesterday? And then, one thought led to another. And before I knew it, I was daydreaming about my next holiday, imagining myself on a beach somewhere, not writing about English grammar for a podcast. Light laugh. It was completely ridiculous. I shook my head again, physically trying to, snap myself out of it. And just as I was trying to get back on track, I heard a loud noise outside. Someone was, using a leaf blower or a lawnmower right outside my window. And it was, really loud. And I thought, ugh, now what? And I found myself just staring out the window, watching them. And, my focus was completely gone. Again, it felt like I was constantly pulling my brain back, like a dog on a leash, Every few minutes, it would just try to run off in a different direction. And the more I fought it, the more tired I felt. By lunchtime, I had this huge headache, and I felt so frustrated because I had spent, hours at my desk. But I had accomplished almost nothing. It was like I was busy, but not productive at all. And, looking back, I realized it wasn't because I wasn't smart enough or because the task was too hard. It was simply because I was letting myself get pulled in so many different directions. My environment wasn't set up for focus, and my mind was just, used to jumping from one thing to the next. It's a very common problem, especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with information. And that day really highlighted for me just how easily our minds can drift away from what we want to do, even when we have the best intentions. It taught me a lot about how important it is to really take control of your environment and your own internal monologue. All right, so after that rather scattered morning I had trying to write my script, I realized how much these everyday distractions and, our own internal struggles affect our ability to focus. And this is where some incredibly useful English phrasal verbs come in handy. They can really help you talk about focus, or the lack of it, and also help you think about how to improve it, not just in your daily life, but especially in your English learning journey. Let's dive right in with a really common one. Get sidetracked. Now, when you get sidetracked, it means you start doing something else, usually something less important or completely unrelated, instead of what you originally intended to do. You get diverted from your main task. Think of it like you're on a clear path towards a goal, and suddenly you take an unexpected turn onto a completely different road because something else caught your attention. In my story, I got sidetracked multiple times, didn't I? First, I got sidetracked by a news notification on my phone. I was trying to write, but then my hand just reached for it automatically, and before I knew it, I was reading about something totally irrelevant. Then, I got sidetracked by checking social media just because it was there and easily accessible. And then, I definitely got sidetracked by doing the dishes. It wasn't my main task at all. But, my brain said, "Oh, just a quick clean." And suddenly, 20 minutes were gone. It's so easy for this to happen, isn't it? It's super easy to get sidetracked these days, especially with all the notifications and demands on our attention. So, to use this phrasal verb in a sentence, you can say, "I really need to focus on my English homework, but I keep getting sidetracked by YouTube videos." Or, "My boss told me not to get sidetracked by minor issues and to focus on the main project." My best advice here, based on my own experience, is if you don't want to get sidetracked, try to remove those potential sidetracks before you start your important work. Put your phone in another room, close unnecessary tabs on your computer, or make sure the dishes are already clean before you sit down to learn English. Prevention is key. Next up is tune out. To tune out means to stop paying attention to something, often because it's irrelevant, distracting, or you just want to ignore it. Think of it like, listening to a radio and there's a lot of static or another station playing in the background. If you tune out the static, you focus only on the music you want to hear. You're deliberately choosing not to listen or not to pay attention to certain sounds or even thoughts. Later in my story, I really struggled to tune out the loud leaf blower outside my window. It was so noisy, and I found myself just staring out the window, watching them, completely unable to focus on my script. If I could have just, tuned it out, I might have focused much better. Instead, my brain was stuck on that annoying sound. You can use it like this. I tried to tune out the chattering of my classmates so I could focus on the lecture. Or, "She's so good at tuning out distractions when she's reading a book in a busy cafe." This is a fantastic skill to develop, especially for language learning. When you're trying to listen to an English podcast, like this one, or study a complex grammar rule, you need to be able to tune out background noise, or, even those random thoughts popping into your head like, "Did I lock the door?" Or, "What should I eat for dinner?" Practice actively trying to ignore these distractions and just focus intently on the English sounds, words, or grammar rules. It takes conscious effort, but it's absolutely possible and will make your learning much more effective. Now let's talk about zone in and its very common opposite, zone out. These are great for describing different states of concentration. When you zone in on something, you become completely focused and absorbed in it, often to the exclusion of everything else around you. It's that wonderful state of deep concentration where you feel really productive and, time seems to fly by. It's like your mind is, putting a powerful spotlight on just one thing, and everything else fades into the darkness. The opposite is zone out, which is when you lose focus and become unaware of your surroundings. You might be daydreaming or just, spacing out, like when you're staring blankly at a wall, not really thinking about anything specific. You're physically present, but mentally, you're far away. At the very beginning of my writing session, for maybe 10 minutes, I really felt like I was starting to zone in on the script. I was typing away, ideas were flowing, and I was feeling really good. But then, I definitely zoned out when I started daydreaming about a beach holiday. Light laugh. It felt like my brain just completely left the building and went on vacation without me. The goal, of course, is to zone in when you're studying English. To do this, try to create an environment where you won't zone out. Minimize distractions, find a quiet spot, and, really try to immerse yourself in the material. For example, you might say, I need some quiet time to zone in on this difficult grammar lesson so I can understand it fully. Or, when I listen to English podcasts, I really try to zone in on the speaker's pronunciation and intonation. If you find yourself zoning out during your study time, that's your brain telling you it might be time for a short break. Or perhaps you need to change your environment to better support your focus. Finally, we have knuckle down. This is a really powerful one. When you knuckle down, it means you start to work seriously and with determination, especially after a period of procrastination or distraction. You really commit to the task at hand. It's about putting your head down, focusing your energy, and getting to business. It implies a kind of mental toughness and resolve. After all the phone checking, the dishes, and the daydreaming, I knew I just had to knuckle down and try to finish that script. I kept telling myself, okay, that's enough. No more excuses. Time to knuckle down. It's often about willpower and pushing through when things are tough or when you feel that natural resistance to work. You might use it like this. I've been procrastinating for too long, but now it's time to knuckle down and finish this important English essay. Or, if you want to improve your English quickly, you'll really need to knuckle down and practice every single day, even when you don't feel like it. It's a great phrase to use when you need to be disciplined with your English studies, especially on days when you just don't feel like it. Remember, consistency is key to language learning, and sometimes you just have to knuckle down and get the work done. It's about making that conscious decision to focus and persevere. So, we've covered quite a bit today about focus, or the lack of it, and how understanding these everyday struggles can actually help us improve our English. Remember, focusing isn't just about getting tasks done. It's also a super important skill for effective language learning. If you can manage to tune out those distractions, or really zone in on what you're studying, you're going to make much faster progress. And when you feel yourself starting to get sidetracked, that's your cue to maybe change your environment or just take a quick break. But then you gotta knuckle down and get back to it. These aren't just, words for a test. They're tools to help you talk about your daily experiences, and more importantly, to help you understand and articulate your own learning process in English. I really encourage you to start using these phrasal verbs we discussed today. Try to notice when you get sidetracked or when you manage to zone in on something. Use them in your own sentences, maybe. Even tell a friend about your own focus struggles using this new vocabulary. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become, and the stronger your English will get. It's all about practice, right? Thank you so much for joining me today on English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. I really hope this episode has given you some helpful insights and some great new vocabulary to practice. If you enjoyed this episode and found it useful, please consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out, and it means you won't miss any future lessons designed to help you improve your English listening and speaking skills. Until next time, keep practicing and try to stay focused.